Yo, welcome to Networking with Nathaniel. I am your host. I'm going to make myself big. I'm your host, Nathaniel Hovsepian. I get the pleasure each week of bringing on people, mostly in the real estate space, but just entrepreneurs at heart, and connecting with them, picking their brains, learning what makes them tick, where they've come from, where they're at, and where they're going. And so, I get to gain valuable insight and hopefully give you guys insight as well. I have the pleasure this week of being here. You're my first local guest, I believe. Let me rack my brain. Oh no, we had Jackson Pierce on about a month or so ago. But okay, so you're the second local guest, but
There we go.
you're going back the farthest as far as our relationship goes. So Manny and I both live in the Augusta, Georgia area. I quote that because I'm technically on the South Carolina side. But Manny's a real estate agent. He's, as you might have seen from the bio there, he was a soldier in the Army, which we haven't actually chatted a whole lot about, but he's a father, entrepreneur, real estate agent, real estate investor, and I believe maybe looking into or have already bought some businesses, which we haven't connected in a while. So I'm looking at
I
diving
know.
into all of that, man. So I
We have a
appreciate you
lot to
being
catch
here.
up on.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
But I'm great now that I'm on here. I really just appreciate the opportunity that you want to speak with me. And
Hey, yeah, you're not only a leader inside the Sub 2 community, you're a leader here locally, and I know that, we've only talked in person, I think once. We've talked on the phone and text a handful of times, but you've always got value and insights and things like that to bring to the table. So, yeah, kind of tell us a little bit about what you've got going on, like in your personal life. I know I mentioned you're married, kids, you're doing a lot of other things as well.
yeah, so, right now I've been focusing a lot on my health, which is probably, it's great, but from a business standpoint, I did probably the worst thing you can do. I had all this momentum and opportunities and deals, and I kind of stopped all that, to get my health in order. And then, I've made great results with that. And with health comes, marriage and relationships and being a better father and a better person. So, everything's going really well. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have, if you can't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's something I've said on this podcast a couple times, and I said it last night in our Healthy Wealthy Family Facebook group. We go live on Tuesday nights, and it was something that I think Zach Bush kind of mentioned that if we build this multi-million-dollar bigger business, but our health has deteriorated, we can't enjoy the fruits of that labor. Like, what was the point? And even not even more important, but also just as important as our health, as our family, right? And if I've spent all this time building this great business up, and my kids don't freaking know me, and
That's
20
right.
years from now, it's like, hey, who's that strange guy? Like, what the heck? That's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'd love to get into how you're balancing it all,
Mhm.
between the family and between the health journey that you're going on. But let's just kind of start like where you're at right now. I mentioned that you're a real estate agent. This was going back maybe a year or so ago now. It sounded like you were kind of taking a little step back from real estate. So what kind of, what does the day to day look like? What does the week to week look like for you right now?
Yeah. So I'm actually working on getting my broker's license,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
different than the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Talking about family life balance. That's one of the reasons we haven't gotten a chance to hang out as much as we want to.
Yeah.
Is scaling back, and I try to keep everything as close to a 9 to 5 as possible, so that way at night and on the weekends I can spend that time with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a wholesale team going right now, which we'll talk about. I'm working to get my brokerage license because while previously I focused more on the investing side, it is just waste of skills to
Mhm.
not focus on the traditional side too. But I'm only one person, so I can only do so much. So my goal is to get my brokerage license, find a handful of agents. I'm not looking to start some huge operation. But basically, if I can find a handful of people that are doing something now and provide them a better opportunity, mentor them in real estate, how to get listings, how to help buyers, how to negotiate, all of these things. If I can mentor them and provide them those tools for success, now they can move forward on the traditional side, and I can still focus on the investing side and, as you mentioned, business acquisitions. So it's a win-win for everybody.
I love that. I have some questions regarding the brokerage license, and that what is the requirements to do to get started with that? What does that process look like, and where are you kind of at in that process?
Yeah, so you have to be a real estate salesperson for the state of Georgia for a minimum of 3 years
Okay.
before you can apply for your broker's license. And then um, you have to take a course and pass the state exam and everything, just kind of like getting your real estate license to begin with. It's just a different test. So I've had my license for 3 years now. So it only makes sense. The next step is brokerage. And like I said, by getting my own brokerage, I can provide that opportunity to people to better their current situations.
Yeah. I think that's probably why we connected in the first place, is because I noticed when I joined Sub 2 that, you were here locally, but you were always in the group commenting and providing value to people, even when it didn't necessarily, come back, you were just giving without any, interest in getting anything in return necessarily. And yes, you do get returns on that, on giving. That's, the way things go, but
Right.
that's not why you're doing it, right? And so I love that. Where are you at in that process right now? You're taking tests, you're studying for the test.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of my course.
Okay.
Yeah. Middle of my course. So hopefully, you know, in the next, within the next month or two, I'm hoping to be, state licensed and, brokerage LLC and advertisements all out there.
Heck
Hopefully.
yeah. So we'll see
Yeah,
billboard Manny Castillo billboards on the.
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to, yeah, you'll notice me around town for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. It's better to see your face than some of the other mugs up there.
Yeah, I was actually hoping maybe we could work out a deal and I could use your face and just put my
Okay.
brokerage info on there.
Yeah, okay. We could talk about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Some sort of perpetuity thing. Yeah. Well, I
I mean,
appreciate that. Yeah. And then you mentioned you got a wholesale team. Is that all local here? Because that's not so much.
no,
No.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, we have people all over the country, right?
Okay.
So my partners are based in the Miami area, actually.
Okay.
So Home Harmony Investors.
Okay.
And what we do with that is we focus on pre-foreclosures and probates, as well as some on-market listings. But again, the whole goal with Home Harmony is to provide opportunities for people. If you're just getting into real estate investing and you don't know what wholesaling is, or you don't know what a dialer is, or how to pull lists, or how to close it, literally any of
Yeah.
the things, or maybe you're missing some of it, we provide that opportunity to new people. If you have time to take action, now you can be a part of this process where you just do your role, it passes to the next person, they do their role, passes to the next person. And now we're able to accomplish more, because if one person has to focus on everything, they have to be an expert at everything or really good at everything.
Yeah.
And that's probably not the average person. And if somebody is able to do that, they're going to be doing a lot less versus, okay, this is literally my role. And now I'm doing the next one and the next one and the next one. You're just passing it off. So that's what we have going on with Home Harmony Investors, providing opportunities for newer people to learn wholesaling, real estate investing, underwriting, everything
Yeah.
that goes with it.
I love it. You've mentioned this a couple times now, the team aspect of, you know, not only real estate investing business, real estate, being a real estate agent, but just being a business owner, an entrepreneur. And really, you can apply that to a lot of different facets of life. So if anybody's, that's a golden nugget right there, is, figuring out your strength And like, you're not going to be an expert or the best at every single aspect of this. And even if you were, it's going to
Right.
severely limit what you're capable of doing. And so, squatting up with people, as they say in Sub 2, just partnering up with people that, can fill those voids or fill those needs and just let you focus on the one thing, and let them focus on their one thing. So how are you finding these people that are coming into Home Harmony at the moment?
Yeah. So social media. So
Okay.
something I always tell everybody is let everybody know who you are and what you're doing, right? Because it doesn't matter, how much of an impact you're having on the community, society, the world. If nobody knows about it, now they can't do their part to compound that, right?
Hmm.
So when I first started, I wanted to do everything myself. I want to keep 100% of the pie, right? Keep all the profits. And then what I quickly realized is squatting up is 100% the way to go, because now you can scale as well as complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. So in the beginning, I wanted to do every deal on my own. And now I don't want to do any deal on my own. If I can bring in as many partners, as many private money partners, lenders, whatever that looks like, I want to provide that opportunity to as many people. And then we can all grow and prosper together. And besides, it's more fun with friends anyway.
Heck yeah, yeah. And that's like,
Mhm.
it's funny you mentioned that, because I started this podcast, gosh, it's a year ago at this point. And it was a little selfish. Like, I just wanted to meet other people and like learn and become friends with other people and see how we could
Mhm.
do stuff together. And then it's kind of grown into this, how are we providing value? Like I kind of mentioned at the top of this, right? And so bringing people on like yourself, where it's, yeah, we're friends, right? And we haven't done a deal yet, and maybe we
Right.
never will do a
We
deal
almost
together
did.
yet. Yeah,
We
that's
almost
right, we
did.
did. That was a. It's funny you
It
mentioned that.
was
So
close. It was
yeah,
close.
I learned a lesson there, that Sundays are work days still. And tech, even if it's just say, hey, Manny, we're still interested in this. Like,
Right.
let's talk about it on Monday. I dropped the ball and didn't communicate, and
Mhm.
Manny just, in his experience, if it's all right with me sharing,
Yeah, yeah.
Manny, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were looking at a deal. We had our contractor walk it, and I forget when it was, Friday or Saturday, and then I ghosted him, right? And so he just, in his experience, when people don't respond after having gone through a walkthrough, it just means that they're not interested and they're just not going to respond. And Manny and I hadn't really had a business relationship at this point, and understanding that that's not how I do things is like, hey, no, I'm not going to ghost you. I'm going to tell you, hey, it doesn't look like a deal or whatever. But he had moved on, and darn it, because I think it ended up being a pretty darn good deal, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you said, "Hey, what's the next steps?" And I said,
Yeah,
"What next steps?
yeah, like,
That one's
dang
already
it.
done."
Yeah.
You But
So
here's the thing. Here's the thing about that deal that I do want to bring up is, I didn't reach out to you and you didn't reach out to me, but that's because you're on a family trip. And
right,
that's
yeah,
one of the things that I connect with you so much is you really value a lot on family, and you're
right.
doing this whole adventure basically in different states and, camping and whatnot. So, while you didn't get that deal, there's always going to be another deal. And I'd
Yeah.
rather you spent that time in the woods with the kids and the wife and, sharing those moments than on the phone with me trying to work out whatever
Yeah.
details. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's
I
always going to be
appreciate
another one. And,
Right.
I love all those posts from that trip that you made as well.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. And you're correct. Like, we do at the time, because we had just gotten started on this new journey.
Hmm.
It was a bummer, because it was like, oh man, we had one, and we missed out on it. But it's like, okay, number one, like you said, we're valuing our family time. Number two is like, there's plenty more, and we've done a handful of deals since, right?
Hmm.
And number three being like, what can I learn from this? Like, it would have just been a simple, hey, let's talk tomorrow, probably,
Sure.
about it, and we could
Hmm.
have, we could have gone forward with the deal. So just like me looking at it, instead of the gap of, dang, we missed out a deal, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the gap in the game, but looking at the gain, like, okay, I learned this. I learned something, is that when we have somebody walk a property and we're interested in it, hey, we're interested. But in this situation, I would have said, hey, I'm with the family. Can we talk tomorrow?
Right.
And I'm sure you would have been good with that because,
Of course,
yeah.
100%.
So I appreciate that. I lost my train of thought a little bit on where we
Yeah.
were at in the conversation. We got
Yeah.
kind of
No,
sidebarred, but
it's all good, man.
yeah.
As long as we're putting out there that family comes first, that's something that I really regret. I was in the military previously,
Mhm.
spent a lot of time in Iraq, Afghanistan. Even when I was home, we didn't live together. My wife lived down in Florida. She was going to school for, surge tech, then eventually nursing. So I would commute down to Florida every weekend
Oh, wow.
to see her and the kids. So I missed a lot of my son's childhood, and I thought, okay, well, he's young, so he doesn't really remember it. But then at the same time, he's only going to be young once,
Yeah.
right? And I missed that. So I have a lot of regret with that. And then fast forwarding to real estate investing, I do have more time now. But in the beginning of my journey, probably even a year ago, I was still not there as much as I wanted to be because I had to take that call with the investor or a new potential private money lender or whatever that looked like, dropping him off at karate. I'll be in there in a second. So I got to finish this call, and
Mm.
he's looking up, and I'm looking at my phone, and so it's one thing. If somebody takes anything away from this, is family first,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. You
Man, I'm
don't.
getting all emotional here, Nathan.
I know I
What are
started
you
to get
doing
a
to me,
little.
man?
Yeah, as you're it's okay to cry on networking with Daniel. I started to get teary eyed when you're saying like, it's okay because he's not gonna, they're not gonna remember it. They're little, but like you mentioned, it's only happens one night, one time. They're not little again. And even at the little karate, the karate practices that you mentioned, like he's looking over to see if you're there. And
Right.
it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you're familiar with, I think it was back in the 90s, the movie Hook,
Yeah.
with Robin Williams, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be there. My word is my bond." And then the kid looks into the stands and he's not there, right? Because he's just so busy,
Oh,
so
wow.
busy working. It's like, you know, I think it's Brandon Turner mentioned, if you can't keep your own appointments, if you can't keep the appointments with yourself, right? Then what the
Right.
heck, what are you doing? So if I can't keep the appointments with my kids and I can't sit down and have lunch with my wife and dinner with my wife and kids, like
Hmm.
why am I working till 9 o'clock at night?
Right.
What the heck am I doing?
Yeah. So that's
I got,
something I definitely identified, and now that's priority, family first. And
yeah,
like I said, there's always going to be another deal. There's always going to be another whatever down the road. So I'm not
yeah.
worried about it.
It's hard when we're getting started, when
Oh, for
you're,
sure.
when you're like, oh, I got to get a deal done, or I got to get my second or third deal done, and like, no, it's hard knowing that there are more down the line, right? When you haven't done a
Mhm.
deal, or when you've only done one deal and you're trying to gain some traction. So, how I guess this may be a good question, and we got a question from the chat too,
No.
which we'll get to. I don't. It's a T Terrell. I'm not sure what your name is, but we will address this here in a second, and I'll pop it up on screen. But how are you? All right, yeah. Before I ask that, what advice would you give to somebody who's just kind of getting started out and being able to balance that, like any like little tips that you can say, you give them mentally? I know we talk about like the abundance mindset all the time, but like I mentioned, it's really hard when you're just getting started.
Hmm. So take action first and foremost. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with, and one of the first questions I always ask them is, how long have you been interested in real estate investing? 3 years. Okay,
Mm.
cool. How many deals have you done? None. This will be my first with you. And then I ask them why. You've been interested for 3 years. Why is this your first deal?
Yeah.
And they say, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to make sure if something came up that I knew how to react and respond to that and move forward. But the reality is, I know with your experience as well, Nathaniel, we've listened to hundreds of hours of podcasts. We've read dozens of books, and you need to take action to
Yeah.
learn, right?
Yeah.
Because when I did my first flip, again, hundreds of hours of podcasts, dozens of books. When I did my first flip, stuff came up that wasn't in any of those,
Yeah.
right? And now it's like, okay, so what do I do now? And you kind of have to figure it out. And I had to fail forward, but then when I did my next flip, the things from the first one didn't happen, but guess what? Some new things happened, right?
Yeah.
So again, not in any of those books. So, don't, what is it? Analysis
Mm.
paralysis, right?
Yeah.
Don't get in your own head. Don't have analysis paralysis. Literally take action, squat up so you don't have to fail forward, use the strengths of somebody else and their experiences, their lessons learned that cost them money, and you're going to grow much faster.
Yeah.
Besides taking action, set limits, set priorities. You and I are, again, family first, heavy family first. So set those deadlines, right? What does that look like? How much time do you want to put towards your W-2? How much time do you want to put towards real estate investing? How much time do you want to put towards family? And really see what that looks like for you moving forward, because if you have the blueprint, you're going to be much more successful than just trying to go out and wing it every day.
Yeah. That's funny. I was thinking about this at the gym this morning. I play basketball on Wednesday mornings, and in between games, sometimes, typically not while we're playing. I'm pretty focused while we're playing, but in
Yeah.
between games, I'll be thinking like, and it was just, there's a lot of people in sub 2 community, and there's even 10 times that amount in the larger creative Facebook group. And what percentage of this group is actually out there doing deals?
Yeah.
And I run into it all the time that I've networked with somebody, 6 months ago, and I do a decent job of staying in contact with people that I've met and connected with. And, just, hey, how you doing? What are you working on? And I couldn't tell you how many, like, the percentage is very large of people that are like, oh, I'm not doing anything real estate. Like, really spend all this money on this sub 2 course, this mentorship, this community, and now you're not even doing it because it's not easy.
Right.
Real estate can be very simple, but it's not easy. And it does require taking action and consistent action. And then, we've hit on the family first, and it's funny. We host a meetup, which you're familiar with. Yeah. And
Exactly.
we host it. It's every third Saturday now. We've finally ironed it out because there's something that happens on the first Saturday. There's something that happens on the second, and there's something that happens on the fourth. So I was like, okay, we're the third. And because we're family first, I'm like, okay, and we're hosting it. How do we make it so it's cohesive for
have
that?
it at the playground and
we have it
invite
at a
the
park.
family.
Yeah, it's so perfect. So we could just kind of be there, mingle. Other people bring their, other people that have kids, they bring their kids that are appropriate age, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Trevor. Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
I was going to say, a lot of people are stuck in their own minds,
Yeah.
So it's so easy to say mindset, but I mean, it really does come down to mindset. It's either you're talking about those people in the groups who have been for a long time and haven't done anything. And just my observation from the people that I've met, they're either analysis paralysis. They need to know everything before it happens, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Or it's the I want 100% of a grape instead of 50% of a watermelon mindset, which I understand in the beginning. But like we kind of already mentioned, when you squat up, you're going to scale so much more and be that much more successful. But telling somebody that, all they hear is you just want half of my deal or something, and it's like, no, I want you to do better and do something, right? So I've had a lot of people, I don't know if I should put it out there, but I've had a lot of people and they reach out and they say, hey, I have this situation and, do you want to help me with it? And I say, okay, yeah, we can work on this together. And here's what that looks like moving forward. That upfront contract, right? What is the expectations from me? And what are my expectations from you?
Yeah.
And then basically after that conversation, they say, yeah, it sounds good. And I never hear from them again. And then I check back in and I say, hey, how'd that deal go? Congratulations on whatever that looked like. And then they say, oh, it didn't work out. I wasn't able to do this. I didn't know how to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, squat up next time,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
quick.
dang. I'm gonna put the banner up there because I forget exact squat up and scale up. Yeah, there it
Yeah.
is. Because I'm thinking,
I had somebody reach out in that same instance. So I told them, if you want me to work with you on this, from this conversation moving forward, we need to be 50-50 on this deal.
hmm
And they said, well, what happens if in 20 minutes I'm able to find a buyer and do all of these things that need to be done? You didn't do anything at that point. What does that look like? And I said, I just mentioned it, from
yeah,
this conversation moving forward, I'm considering you a partner, and I'm going to now exert some of my energy towards your project.
yeah,
Right. And they said, well, I don't think it's fair that in 20 minutes, if I'm able to resolve everything on my own, that you should get any sort of portion, no less 50% of the deal. So I agreed with them. I said, that's fine if you feel that way. Uh, I wish you all the luck, right? No hard feelings. I really want everybody to be successful.
yeah,
But this is what I need to happen, basically.
yeah.
And they said, okay, I'm just going to move forward without you. And about a week later, they were not able to successfully handle that transaction and do what was needed. So then they came back to me and said, looks like I want to work with you after all.
Yeah.
And fun fact, that was the deal that you and I almost did.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that
Full
person
circle.
was hesitant to include me for whatever reason, but then they waited a week. They weren't able to get the results they needed.
Hmm.
And within like 2 days,
Wow.
we got the job done. And unfortunately, you're on vacation for that one, but
Yeah, that's all
but
right.
that's the power of squatting up, right? It's like you don't have to do it, but that's the best example I could give of you
Yeah,
don't have to do it, but you're probably going to have better results if you do.
yeah. Especially when you're just getting started out, and
Hmm.
we're not just getting started out in our real estate journey, but we are
That's
getting
right.
started out in certain little niches, whatever, of real estate investing, and we're still partnering up and squatting up with people. Like, you don't. It doesn't matter how far along you are. There's always somebody that's farther along, right? There's always a bigger fish, and being able to leverage those people in your network. Maybe leverage isn't the most kind word, but yeah, you
Yeah,
know, yeah, you use your network. Your network is your net worth, and like,
that, that's
um,
right. 100%.
I'll still partner up with people all day. Like, if this gets the deal done, and I can gain some value from their experience, their expertise, their timeliness with knowing what needs to be done when. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it, right? And I'm going to learn along the way, and yeah, maybe I give up, a piece of the watermelon, but I'd rather you use the grape watermelon one. I'd much rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing all
That's
day.
right.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, I explained it to my son. Luckily, he's very interested in real estate and entrepreneurship and all these things.
cool.
And I explained to him like cookies, like if you and your friend are hanging out and there's one cookie left, it's like you split it. Now you each have half a cookie, right?
Yeah,
But then guess what? When you go over to his house and his mom goes to the store, now she buys a whole box of cookies. Like now you have 12 more. And you
hmm
think he's not going to give you any? No,
right.
now you're going to have freaking,
Yeah,
6 more cookies that you wouldn't have had you not shared with your friend,
yeah,
to
for
begin
sure.
with. And
That's funny.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. It's like you might bring me in on a deal this time, but next time you better believe I'm going to bring you in on a deal. If it's your area, if it's your expertise, if
hmm
if you're going to add value in any capacity, 100% going to now give you that cookie
yeah,
that you
yeah,
want to have had access to.
yeah. Like, what's the one hand washes the other?
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
Yeah,
So many people, look at our journey, yours and mine, and they compare it, right? And it's like you can't compare it. We're on day,
yeah,
thousand whatever.
yeah.
Definitely, like your day one is not my day thousand, or
Right.
whatever that looks like. And I've definitely had a lot of lessons learned. You've had a lot of lessons learned. So why do they want to go through that and learn those, as well? It's like
Yeah.
squat up.
Yeah, you got to you like it's cliche, but
It
like
really is.
it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? You don't get to your destination. And it kind of ties into the analysis paralysis thing. Like sometimes you don't know step 7, 8, 9, 10 until you get to step 3, right? You wouldn't have learned the things about not the mistakes, but the issues that come up in the flipping process if you hadn't started a flip,
Right.
right? You know,
Hmm.
like you can't, those aren't, you could, I guess, learn them from a book, but you don't really learn those lessons. You need to learn it from
No.
experience and tough work, you know?
Listen, yeah, show me
Yeah.
the book that says, don't pay your contractor half of the project up front. I've
Yeah.
never seen that in a book.
Yeah. It's book coming out. Mr. Manny's gonna, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we
Yeah.
can co-author it. Would
Yeah.
you
There
like
you go. Squat up on a book.
Yeah, networking with Nathaniel, whatever
Yeah.
edition.
We do have um, Trevor's been waiting on this one.
Yes, I
What are,
appreciate you, Trevor.
what are some needs that you have right now, and how can okay, I'm gonna touch this one, Trevor, and I don't know what your experience level what your experience is, and I hope you don't take any of this personally or anything. I'm not the biggest fan of the how can I help question, and maybe you differ on this, Manny, but if I ask Manny right now, how can I help you, Manny has no freaking idea. Well, if Manny and I don't know each other,
Right.
man, he has no idea. He doesn't know what I bring. The first question is great. What are you needing right now? And I even like, what are you struggling with? Like, what hurdles are you running into in your business right now? That's giving me information and allowing me to go, oh, now I know how I can help Manny because I figured out what Manny's needs are. So just tidbit. So if you want to address these, Manny, what are you looking for right now? What are you needing? What hurdles are you running into? And ultimately, how can Trevor brings value to you?
Yeah. So first off, I want to say Trevor is an awesome dude. Like very cool. We met in person at the Squad Up event, actually
Okay.
in Orlando. Yeah, and he even hooked me up with saving me a seat one of those days because that place was jam packed. So great guy. I am always looking for private money lending and private money partners.
Mm-hmm.
So with flips, with business acquisitions, especially with business acquisitions, that's going to be my almost my primary focus moving forward after the brokerage license. I'm going to look for partners that want to be invested with me in those endeavors. So I would say private money lenders or private money partners for flips, but more importantly, business acquisitions down the road, because that's kind of where I'm transitioning to.
Awesome. And if I could gather anything too, it sounds like you're kind of always looking, for the dang it, home harmony. You're always looking for action takers, people that
Oh,
want
of
to come in
course.
and learn and yeah,
Yeah,
put money where their mouth is, kind of a thing.
that's right. Yeah, action takers, people that want to get into real estate investing, however that looks for them, whatever their capacity is, whatever their superpower is, right?
Yeah.
And squatting up. If somebody has a deal that is right at the finish line, but they can't get it across, whatever that looks like, I'm always down to squat up and get those deals done and everyone paid as well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's to kind of go back to the 50-50. I hope that answered your question, Trevor, helped you out a little bit. And I did like I don't want to put you on the spot. That trust me that you're in the majority there of people saying, "Hey, how can I help you?" Um, to go backwards, you had talked about the 50-50 split, and maybe that's even unfair to you as the one bringing the experience, and the knowledge and the know-how and the systems and the processes and all of that. But that's what you're getting when you're giving away 50%, right? I'm not going to do all the work, but you are taking away from all these other things that I'm doing and that I've got going on in my business. And for me to do that and allocate it, I need to know that there's something in it for me. Not to say that I'm not going to, I'll help you out for free, but I'm not going to put a bunch of effort into it and time and, leverage my team and my business and stuff like that. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's a great way to put it, right?
yeah,
A lot of people that JV, they have different sort of splits, different sort of terms, 50-50. 50-50 is easy. It's fair
Yeah.
across the board. But with that said, that doesn't necessarily mean me, Manny, I'm getting 50%. I
Right.
have a team behind me, right? I
Yeah.
have partners that I work with. So whatever that particular deal looks like, uh, I will be bringing the skill set required to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So out of my 50, I'm now splitting that 50-50 with whoever, or
Mhm.
the third or fourth or whatever that looks like. So
Yeah.
it's 50-50 up front, but I promise you, it's going to be a whole team behind my 50, and then we're going to get results.
Yeah. That's what you're getting is you're gonna get 50%, right?
Yeah, you're getting 50%. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's a deal per deal basis, but yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Um, so I know that you're like the brokerage is on your first is on your plate right now,
That's
right?
right.
And then kind of sounds like once you get that ironed out, you're going to be transitioning into raising capital, or you're probably already doing that, right? And
Mhm.
really focusing on business buying. What are there any businesses that you're looking into? And I know that there's a text that I have from you going back where you answered
Sure.
this question, but are there specific businesses you're looking into? Anything that's like really catching your eye that you want to look? And then also, where are you looking?
Right. So the easiest part of that to answer is I don't want anything local. I don't want
Okay.
anything local because I don't want to be tempted to go in every day and micromanage or critique or like,
Mm,
you didn't say hello to me or I don't know, something crazy, right?
yeah.
So I don't want to be tempted to do that. So nothing local. So with that said, we haven't started marketing towards these things yet because my health, my brokerage, stuff like that, home harmony, investors, those are all happening right now. But when we do start marketing, we would like home service type businesses, homes, so AC, plumbing, electrical, things like that, cabinet manufacturers, all real estate related, basically,
Yeah. I love that.
in some capacity. But, even right now, without marketing, I've had people bring opportunities to me based on social media, which we're going to talk about more, getting your name out there, who you are, what you're doing. But I've had opportunities presented anywhere from, a sporting goods store, which was actually brought to me by the owner of the sporting goods store. I was on another podcast and mentioned we're, looking to buy businesses. And they
Interesting.
reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to buy our sporting goods store?" And unfortunately, it was too small of an operation
Okay.
and it didn't include any real estate. So that one didn't work out. But, that was a previous one, a bowling alley. We're actually in the middle of talking to a bowling alley right now. We've had
Okay.
big companies reach out. So right now, whatever is brought to us, we're going to evaluate. But in the future, as far as marketing and things like that, we're probably going to stick to the home service type businesses as well as cabinet manufacturing, things like that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's stuff you already know, and you can kind of keep it relative or relevant to all the other goings on that you have.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're flipping in, Austin, Texas, or, LA or whatever that looks like, if we have those connections, that cabinet business over there, or whatever that looks like, we can make it all work for everybody, give you a discount you wouldn't have been able to get. And now we're
Mhm.
able to get a sale that we wouldn't have been able to get,
Yeah. It's
the
all
bowling, the
it's all
bowling
working in harmony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And harmony investors. The bowling alley is pretty cool because your network is your net worth, right? And by going to these events and networking with the people that we do, I actually know somebody that purchased a bowling alley like a year ago.
Okay.
And, they've shared everything that they've done to turn this bowling alley around and make it a freaking cash flowing machine, right? So, now I'm going to go to that person. I'm going to say, "Hey, we have this deal. Do you want to squat up? And now let's work on this together," because they've already figured out what that blueprint looked like.
Mm.
And now we apply it to our bowling alley and
Yeah.
move forward. So, I never thought, first of all, I never thought I would be buying houses and doing the things that I'm doing. I grew up very poor, on welfare, lived in the projects, all that stuff. So to know the people that I know and to be doing the things I'm doing, I never would have thought, was possible. My dream as a kid or in high school, was one day I hope to make $15 an hour. Like that was my goal. Like
Yeah.
if I can become a sheriff's deputy, I can make 15.35 an hour, or like I knew the number, dude. It was like
Yeah.
15.32 an hour, and that's 31,000, whatever. So that was like a dream. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
beyond blessed to be in the position that I'm in now to, possibly be buying a bowling alley, and it's perfectly achievable
Yeah.
because I have those connections now to be able to do it by putting myself out there and connecting with people.
Yeah. JJ Azizian was on last week, and
Yeah, that dude's
you
Mr. Networking and branding.
yeah, yeah. And so it's a lot of the stuff that you're saying is just what he was preaching, right? Not preaching, but yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Last week, and he mentioned something that we hear all the time, like it's who you know, and you've used that, but he said it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And
right.
so you've got both things playing, and that's what networking really is. Like, yes, it's who knows you. They know that, Manny's doing this, Nathaniel's doing this, Trevor's doing this, right? And they can bring you opportunities that fit what you're doing. But it's also, man, I met this guy who bought a bowling alley a year ago. I've got this opportunity, and I'm not ashamed to swallow my pride and go squat up with somebody. Like, I
Mhm.
I know a lot about real estate, but I don't know anything about buying a bowling alley. But I
No.
sure as heck know somebody that does.
Yeah, I
So
know just the right person,
yeah.
who has a team,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
that
exactly.
is actively doing this. Another example of the who knows you, not who you know, but who knows you,
Mhm.
is there was, and I hope he never sees this podcast. I'm just going to put that out there, disclaimer. I hope he never sees this podcast. There's a local realtor,
Okay.
um, and I was at a property looking to flip it, actually, direct to seller. So he recognized my car at the property, and he came over and he kind of interjected himself in my seller appointment. And I'm
Mm,
like, really, dude? Like, come
yeah,
on. But with that said, I went across the street afterwards. Apparently, he lives across the street. He lives across the street. He saw my car, recognized it, and said, "What's this dude doing in my neighborhood?" Kind of a
yeah,
thing. So I go over to his house after the seller appointment, and he was pretty upset. He's like, it's really frustrating. So he's a local realtor.
yeah,
He's like, it's really frustrating because, and then he starts pointing to the houses all around, literally every house, to the left, to the diagonal front, to the front, which is where I was at, diagonal right, and then to the right. He said, every one of these sellers in the past 6 months, or every one of these houses in the past 6 months, has either sold to a wholesaler or listed with another realtor.
yeah,
And I look at his car. I said, "Is this your car?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have any magnets that say
yeah,
you're a realtor?"
yeah,
No, I don't. I said, "Okay. Have you ever gone and knocked on any of your
yeah,
neighbors' doors?"
yeah,
No. I said, "So how can you be upset and frustrated that none of your neighbors knew you were a realtor, to come and use your services if nobody knew you existed?"
yeah. That's crazy.
Literally every house sold to a wholesaler or another agent.
Yeah,
And, I've experienced the same thing. Not to say everybody knows who I am and everything. No, I need to do a better job with that myself, even in my own neighborhood. We go for walks at night, and at the end of my street, this new listing popped
mm,
up, and I saw they were, working on cleaning the house and windows and bringing in flooring. And I knew, hey, I should stop by and say, hey, you just remodeling, you thinking to
yeah,
sell, or
yeah,
what's the situation, or better introduce myself just as a neighbor, right? But I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And now there's a realtor sign in the yard, and I only have myself to be upset with.
Yep.
because I saw they were doing some improvements, and I didn't introduce myself beforehand like I should have. And when I saw the improvements, I didn't stop by and introduce myself or see how I can provide value to them
Yeah.
with improvements. I mean, we know contractors. Your contractor is amazing, by the way.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I'm glad you're connected with them. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. So we know these contractors. We know how to get the work cheaper, and I could have provided that service at a minimum just to be a friendly neighbor, and I didn't. And now they listed with somebody else. And that's not to say, man, I missed out on that commission, right? Because the house is going to sell for X amount because the neighborhood and this and that. I'm disappointed with myself because I don't know the level of service that realtor is going to provide to that homeowner now, right? So I don't even care from the commission standpoint. I just know the services I would have provided to them versus the uncertainty of services provided to them from somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's just a self accountability check, and I have nobody to be upset with besides myself, because how are they supposed to know that I was just right down the street?
Yeah, it's funny. Especially on social media, but just this situation that you just described, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're open for business. You know, like, let people know what you're doing. And you mentioned the level of service there. Like, as we brought on people into our team, it was a little bit of a mindset shift for us, is like, oh man, I have to do this for, to make sure that these people are taken care of. No, I get to do this. I know that I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to put in the work, and I know what value I bring. I would much rather them be a part of my team than be a part of somebody else's team who's, sitting on their couch late at night, watching hours of Netflix, not growing themselves, not putting time into their business. Like, no, I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to make sure that my team's thriving just as much as we're thriving. So kind of same, mindset kind of thing there. We've talked a lot about social media. I know you have your phone number there. I know that you're active on Facebook. Is that kind of where you focus your attention, or are you on other platforms as well?
Yeah, my main focus is Facebook. I know a lot of people say Instagram's where it's at, and YouTube definitely, right? But Facebook has been my main focus.
Yeah,
And I
that's
will say, again, just about giving value and nuggets and making myself very vulnerable here.
mm,
Um, I will say I stayed away from YouTube because for a long time I wasn't really confident in myself and my
mm,
appearance. And at the end of the day, if anybody else is listening to this and feels that same way, you're holding yourself back for no reason, right?
yeah,
Um, you're not able to affect the people you need to for no reason, because at the end of the day, people don't care about what you look like or how cool your beard is or not is, or
yeah,
whatever that is, right? How you sound.
yeah,
Like, man, I sound weird,
yeah, yeah.
they don't care about that, right? They
Right.
just need somebody to help them with whatever that looks like. And if you're the expert in that, then what better person to help them than you, right? So put yourself out there, whether it's YouTube or whatever it is, and completely disregard any self
Self doubt.
nonsense
Yeah,
you have. And
yeah. You never know too what the issue. I mean, yeah, you do know, because everybody out there. We're all humans, and we're all dealing with maybe not exactly the same, but the same issues, right? And
mhm,
an exercise we did this. I went to this event, Unleash and Invest, a couple months back, or I don't know. It was somewhat recently. One of
mhm,
the first exercises we did was we all stood in a circle and we asked each other questions, or these questions were posed. Who's done a deal before? Step in a circle, right? All these different, and then it gets to who's been depressed.
mhm.
Half the circle steps in, right? Who's
Right,
currently dealing? Half the circle steps in. You're like,
right.
oh, we're all dealing with these things, right? So putting yourself out there, and you've done a great job. I've seen it on Facebook as being vulnerable on there and sharing your journey. Hey, this is. I think you even took pictures too of like, hey, this is where I'm
I
at
know
right
that was
now.
really hard. That was
Yeah, I
really
can
difficult.
imagine.
Really
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah, like, um, people look at me as like the shirtless guy all the time because I have my shirt off. Just I'm freaking hot all the time. But
Hmm.
and a lot of people will looking like, oh man, he looks so good. Like I look at myself in the mirror and I see the same things that everybody else is seeing. Like, oh, this and that. Like, oh, I don't like it. But put yourself out there and be vulnerable because that's what connects you. And again, something JJ talked about last week is like these little things outside of your business are what connects you to other people and draws people into your network. Like, hey, I see Manny doing that. I'm in that same boat right now, and I need to start on that journey because I see Manny out there doing it, and I'd love to connect with Manny. So,
Right.
is the phone number that you have put here, is that the best way to connect with you? Would you rather people go to Facebook and kind of message you there? What's that look like?
Yeah, message me on Facebook. Yeah, the realtor that buys houses have a little hashtag, the realtor buy houses.
Yeah,
So facebook.com, / or Manny C buys houses. Yeah, that's definitely going to be the best platform. And I'm definitely active in Messenger and DMing and stuff like that. And then I can help you there. And then if we do need to get on a call or something, then we can do that as well. But Facebook is definitely going to be the best place to follow everything that I'm doing, health wise, business wise, family wise.
yeah,
There's a lot of great value there, and super vulnerable posting some of that stuff, like you mentioned. But I think there is that one person out there that is going through the same thing. Like you said, we're all going through the same or similar things. So if they can connect with that and relate to that, and I help them at all, that's the goal. I didn't think when I started this health journey that, who first, I don't know who looks at my post, right? Does anybody look at it? Do they like it just to like it, but they don't
yeah,
actually read it? And all these things go through my mind. But since posting, I've had people DM me, they're eating better. They'll send me photos of the stuff that I've shared that I'm eating now that's organic or,
yeah.
humanely raised and things like that, or their health journey, what they were struggling with. And, I never again would have thought, okay, real estate investing kind of influencer, putting that information out to the world. But I never would have pictured that I would be any sort of health influencer or anything like that. But I'm glad to see
Yeah.
people are paying attention and are making those slight changes to their lives to better their situation physically and mentally.
I can't put a number on it because I have no idea, but somebody on a pre-recorded one that hasn't actually released yet. It's going to be Networking with Nathaniel Unleashed. Mentioned, for all the people that you see that are posting and commenting on your stuff, there's a certain number that aren't, but are still seeing it and getting value and taking things away from what you're doing. So I love that. And I appreciate you coming on here and being vulnerable, right? Too, that's at the top of the hour. We both got a little teary eyed from what you were sharing, and you're, you're putting yourself out there and you're building that habit of being vulnerable, and that's what draws people to you. So I really love that, man. I appreciate you coming on. I do have a couple like ending questions here, and it is a few books that you could recommend to the audience out there that have either influenced you as a father, husband, real estate investor, entrepreneur. I'm keeping a list of these.
Man.
Yeah.
So I wish I had known beforehand.
Yeah, I shoot. Yeah.
I should pull up my Audible, but
Do it.
yeah, actually, that would probably be easier. I don't want to do the standard rich dad poor
Yeah.
dad, which is great for opening the mindset. But all right, let's see. I think off the top of my head, I want to say "Never Split the Difference"
Ooh, okay.
with Chris Voss.
Yep.
Second time, third time, it's even better because now you've picked up, those skill sets from the first time, and then you recognize it before it comes up. Oh, here's what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So never split the difference. The richest man in Babylon.
Oh,
That's really good. I wish I had learned that a long time ago, early in my career,
yep.
but I mean, that goes with everything, right?
I love that book because it's small and it packs so much into these like little simple parable type stories,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just basic, basic financing
it is.
fundamentals. Yeah,
It is basic, but
yeah,
if you don't think about it, right, you don't know
right.
what you don't know.
Yeah,
And I'd be so much further ahead if I had listened to that or read that previously
nope.
and applied that much sooner. And then the last one, most people probably would not have read, is Profit Like the Pros by Ken Corsini. And the
Okay.
reason I like that one is because it shows you what types of deals are possible, right? I don't know if it's 10, 15, 20, something like that, but they speak to, all these different real estate investors and they say, tell us one deal that you did, that was amazing. So
Mm,
ideas that you never even would have thought of, now are possibilities because you heard it in the book there. So I like that one as well. So they all provide something a little different, how to negotiate, how to talk to people,
yeah.
how to underwrite different deals, what are opportunities, and then what was the other? Oh, Richest Man in Babylon, you know, financial fundamentals.
It's funny too. You mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, and when everybody says, "Hey, oh, go read Rich Dad Poor Dad," I'm like, "Well, have you read this one first?"
Hmm.
Right? Let's just give you the basics first, because if it's great to go read Rich Dad Poor Dad and have that mindset shift, but like, can you save money to go invest yourself? Right? Can you do all
Hmm.
these like little basic things and pay yourself first? Like, so just I get no affiliation or like
Yeah, yeah.
affiliate, but Richest Man in Babylon is a go getter. I just gave it to my nephew for his birthday. He's 13 now. I'm like, hey, read this. Like, you may get nothing out of it, but go read it again, dude. Because
Hmm.
there's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's simple enough. The stories are simple enough to where, you can read it at 12, 13 years old, and that you're going to get value out of it. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you sharing this. Like I said, I got a list of them going on. I don't know if Never Split the Difference has come up yet. Oddly
that's
enough, and
surprising.
50 episodes in, Richest Man. I mean, oh man, the one we were just talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, the Robert Kiyosaki one,
Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah,
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah.
yeah, that one's come up like 30% of
Of
the time.
course, that's
Yeah,
like I
the
think
real
that's
estate.
a pretty
Yeah,
standard one,
yeah, it's kind of the
for
goat,
sure.
book. Yeah,
I was telling my son, like you don't want to buy anything, like because he's talking about, his, oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy this. And it's like the goal should be you never want to buy anything. You want to have assets that buy everything, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like reinvest in your business, grow your business, and then buy these assets, how these assets create cash flow and how use the cash flow to purchase, live the lifestyle that you want and buy
yeah,
the things that you want because those assets are going to keep printing money over and over and over
yeah,
versus, yeah, I have the money for the Tesla, but now I buy it and I don't have that money anymore, right?
yeah,
Versus I bought the asset and now the asset, pays for the Tesla. And when the Tesla's paid off, it's still printing me more money to buy the next Tesla or whatever that looks like.
with your Manny buys houses on the, or
That's right.
yeah, the real
Yeah,
estate.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
stamped on the
definitely
side.
reinvest in your business. Don't just go to Vegas and get
Yeah,
VIP seats and stuff like that. I promise you, the seats 4 rows back are going to be just as good of a view and half the price.
yeah, 100%. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, I appreciate you being here, brother. I hope that I can see you again in person soon. I know that the family, you know, is priority. So, and
I,
I love
I,
that.
I will try to make this next one.
Yeah, it's in 4 days.
All right. Perfect. I'm glad we discussed it then.
Yeah, hang out for a second if you don't mind. I appreciate everybody who was here. Thank you for joining me on Networking with Nathaniel. We're here every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time. I couldn't tell you who the guest is next week. You'll have to stay tuned to the social medias to find that out. Start keeping track of the posts that are coming out. You'll see on Friday. I'd love to, if you're looking to grow your business, get started in your business. I host a Zoom every Thursday at noon called Helping Hands Hour that if you reach out to me on Facebook, you can go to, oh, it's right there, nathanielhovsepian.com, and connect with me there. You'll see the registration link there. Or you can just send me a DM on Facebook and I'll get you that registration link. I hope you all have a blessed one. We'll see you later.